Baltimore
Baltimore
Ravens.
Ravens.
Yeah, forgot how to alphabetize. Another just solid overall class, and again, very different from what we had just talked about with the Bengals, where a team that's just really good at letting the board fall to them. Um, with their first pick and Malachi, like probably one of the top 15 players in the class, but he's not at a valuable position, so it's a little bit tougher to justify it in the top 15. But when you're sitting there pretty at 27, you can just draft good football players. And then one of the bigger storylines of the draft was Mike Green's fall, uh, not due to his playing ability, but due to the off-field stuff. But the Ravens take a shot at him there at 59 in the second round. Um, what were your thoughts on the Ravens?
Listen, man, this, like you said, they let the board fall to him, man. They didn't overthink it. And what good teams do, Dakota, which is my favorite draft strategy is they don't draft for need. They did not draft for need this entire draft, in my opinion. I don't think they came into the draft thinking, oh, we just need a safety. Like a safety is just like what this team desperately needs. That's what we are. Like that's the player we are away from winning a Super Bowl. No, what they did was when they got the 27th pick, they said, oh, Malachi Starks is the best player left on the board. So let's not overthink it. Let's take the best player left on the board. And Mike Green is a risk. I get it. Mike Green is an extreme risk. He has the off field issues. But, dude, this is a guy who was extremely productive. I thought he was the second best edge rusher in the class behind Abdul Carter. So, 17 sacks in 2024. That's unbelievable numbers. And yes, it's at Marshall, but he had games against Ohio State that he was still productive in. So, I love taking a chance on a guy, like taking a chance on Mike Green, who, by the way, is decently athletic and has the production in the second round. That's like, I just love taking that over. I'm not to crap on the Bengals again, but the Shamar Stewart in the 17th pick, man. I just think pick like this was more likely to work out in my opinion. And again, it was them not overthinking it. Like they probably evaluated the off the field stuff and they were fine with it enough to take him in the second round and said, hey, he's the best player left on the board, so let's just take him.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah, and Malachi Stark's going to be immediately, being able to plug him in and start playing him alongside Kyle Hamilton really early. Um, and then with Mike Green, off the field stuff aside, just easily one of the best pass rushers in this class. And to your point, probably second behind Abdul Carter. Really, just your taste of the crop of those options. But they do their evaluations. Every team did. And they felt taking him there was the right fit. And so, I mean, all things considered, the Ravens are pretty solid organization too. So, hopefully, whatever may have been going on, and I know the details of it or whatnot, but hopefully that can help clean up his future for him a bit there, and be an integral piece to that Ravens defensive pass rush. Um, Also, like looking at their other picks, Emory Jones. Everybody's talking about Will Campbell, but grabbing the other tackle at LSU was a decent pick there in the third round, adding some depth to that offensive line. And then they added a couple other another tackle later on, Carson Vincent at Alabama A&M. So adding some pieces to the offensive line. They did take a kicker, so apparently Justin Tucker's he has been struggling, man. He has never a fan of drafting kickers because every single offseason in the NFL there is a starting kicker you can just go get, and I don't
Exactly.
know unless you're getting Justin Tucker, and the odds of that are pretty low. Not a fan of drafting them. But two other picks of theirs I really love though. LeJontay Wester in the sixth there
Yes.
was a solid pick out of Colorado. Getting him, played with Shador. Was pretty productive for them over the past couple seasons. Transferred from Florida Atlantic, I think, and was pretty solid there for a few years. So I like them taking a shot on him. And then Aeneas Peebles. I think it was incredible value getting him where they did. Solid guy that was played his entire career in the ACC. I think he was at Duke first, but out of Virginia Tech. So I think they, again, just taking some solid production with the athleticism guys as they come up on the board. And again, when you're in, one of the differences between talking about a team like the Ravens and Browns is where you are as a franchise too.
Yes.
Sometimes even with the Bengals, sometimes you're not performing the way you're supposed to with the quarterback you have and whatnot. So you feel like you need to take these chances to try to go from 0 to 100 immediately by taking high upside. Ravens are just in a completely different situation where even if you do that, um, it's less there's less risk involved. But two, you also draft in volume, um, which is another thing they're great at with 11 picks in this class.
No doubt, dude. Drafting a volume always helps. It's just interesting. So, first of all, Peoples in the sixth round is great value, dude. 17.8% pass rush win rate in 2024. Dude, he could literally be a rotational pass rusher for them and actually make an impact as a sixth round pick. But the thing I found interesting, you draft the kicker, and apparently the kicker to you is more valuable than Peebles and Wester. Like you draft a kicker before those guys. Like really? Like those are dudes who could actually make impacts at receiver and interior pass rusher, which is infinitely more valuable than kicker, dude. Like college kickers suck. Like I don't. When's the last good college kicker to come out? I don't like. I can't even think of any.
We use a Colts fan, no, drafting him pretty high does not work out either.
It does not, dude. It just does not work out. So that's interesting to me. But when you have 11 draft picks, why not just throw one at a kicker? I don't know. But yeah, Peebles could absolutely. I mean, I thought Peebles was I thought he could be maybe round 3, round 4 kind of player. So getting him
Yeah,
in the sixth was really good value in my opinion. And again, like I think a theme overall, and we touched on this in a couple of our draft videos, but for people that didn't see those videos, one of the things we said the theme was that you can tell the good players or the good teams in the NFL, man. Like the good teams in the NFL do not overthink the draft process. They take best player available, and that's how they have the rosters they have, and that's why they're good. So I mean, I think the Ravens are a great example of that.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean it's been a consistent thing. The only thing they've even like whiffed on occasionally is when they take those edge rushers in the first round, like a Dafe away, who's developed. He was very raw when they drafted him, but they just have a tendency to draft in volume, and in doing that, tend to just take good football players. It helps when you're picking at the back half because if there's less overthinking involved, and you can let the board fall to you a bit more. Um, but but they've become very good at that. And then rounding out the rest of their class with Longer Beam from Rutgers was a honorable mention, all Big Ten. Ran a 4.39, pretty fast corner, pretty athletic. A guy that could potentially add some depth to their secondary, and then again adding more depth on the offensive line with Garrett Dellinger and guard at LSU. And then we didn't touch on these with the others, but they also were incredibly active with
Yes.
UDFAs.
Dude, they
They have
sound like a
about
whole roster of UDFAs.
yeah, and then between that and also the camp invitees, the most notable. We didn't touch on these a ton with the others because a lot of the names, a lot of them aren't known. There's a few guys we'll probably point out as we do these that are a bit more, kind of surprising that they went undrafted more so. But more of the more interesting one they had is Jared Penning, um, out of Northern Iowa, which is Trevor Penning's brother. So be curious to see how if he can develop. His brother's still currently starting for the Saints. I think they drafted um, Banks to replace that, but
Yeah,
his
yeah,
brother gets
yeah.
signed.
Yeah, we got bad news for you, buddy. You might be losing your
Yeah.
job soon. But
Yeah, because
I
they
mean,
already had Fuaka last year, so
I actually think it was a pretty good UDFA class, though, man. There's a few guys like we forgot to mention Seth McLaughlin, Ohio State center for the Bengals. They actually got pretty
yep,
good
yep,
value
yep.
on him. So shout out to the Bengals, one of my favorite picks, and it wasn't even a pick for them. But but listen, dude, I think there's some solid UDFA players this year that could make rosters, dude. I mean, if you make a roster as an undrafted free agent, that's a big story. But if you can play at some point, that's even a bigger story. So yeah, we'll definitely touch on those as we go. But yeah, I mean the Ravens, dude, I like you expect a team that's like kind of low on depth to take 50 chances at undrafted free agents, but the Ravens, like, dude, they brought in like 20 or 30 guys, dude. It's absolutely unreal how many they're bringing in. So
And again, the drafting in volume thing. Next year, they've already got 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 picks, 4 fifth rounders. So being active in these trades, helping
four
you develop
fifths.
4
Wow.
fifths, man. They're already developing for that next year. Those are weapons for their first 4 picks to trade up with. So they're leaving with some capital as well. I'm assuming again with this one, we probably have the same favorite pick. I mean, the
Yeah.
value wise, take everything out beside just the football player value of getting Mike Green at 59.
I agree. I will throw out Peebles though. Peebles is
Peoples,
currently
yeah.
listed as their backup three tech. So if he can end up being a starter, I mean that's a guy that's definitely going to make the roster just looking at this depth
Yeah,
chart.
yeah.
And I mean that could be a huge value pick in the sixth round. So
Perfect. So that is Baltimore Ravens 2025 class.